How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading while the price is going up or down. MiCA would have a different scope if negotiated today, says EU financial dog ESMA. Adopted in April this year, MiCA is Europe's landmark regulatory sandbox for the digital asset industry. It will provide a plethora of new rules, including stringent regulation for stablecoins, profound AML procedures, and data security practices, and is set to go into full effect July 2026. Because of that, they're urging people not to go like full on thinking the crypto market's safe, because they are not in full effect yet. For the ESMA, the message behind the recent statements was not to stop all investments in crypto assets, but to adopt a very high level of vigilance, an agency spokesman told Decrypt. They said that they want investors to maintain an alert mindset when they are trading these assets in order to not give in to the siren calls of easy profits. They told Decrypt that many have been calling for MiCA 2.0 and claim that how the framework currently stands somewhat acknowledges its own limitations, given that it adds the mandates for the ESMA, European Banking Authority, and European Commission to monitor and propose legislative action regarding new developments in digital asset markets. So they do have room for adoption of new rules. BlackRock Amends Bitcoin ETF prospectus acknowledges fierce competition. Notable changes in BlackRock's new filing include acknowledgement of the competition for the race in Bitcoin ETF approvals, as well as detailed explanations on the product's pricing and reporting mechanisms. Yesterday's filing reads that there is no assurance that the trust will achieve initial market acceptance and scale due to competition, so they're already saying that the market's too saturated for them. The other significant difference in the new filing is the price details for the ETF in the periodic financial statements filed by BlackRock. The new filing also provides a detailed analysis with examples for the pricing of its CF benchmark index. The index aggregates Bitcoin's price across several exchanges, and it will form a basis of BlackRock's ETF. Will the lawsuit against DCG impact GBTC's chances of an ETF conversion? Digital Currency Group, its subsidiary Genesis Global Capital, and crypto brokerage Gemini Trust on Thursday were sued by the state of New York for allegedly defrauding investors for more than $1 billion. DCG is the parent company of Greyscale, which is trying to convert their trust into a spot Bitcoin ETF. One asset manager from Ikigai, or however you say that, says it strikes them as this being enough to put this conversion on ice, at least for now. James Seifert said that in this case there was admittedly a closer relationship because they were sister companies at DCG, but he said that that doesn't mean it's going to impact the application because of the lawsuit. Another analyst, Dave Weisberg, said he is neither an attorney nor legal expert, but he doesn't think that there's a scenario in which Greyscale will sell their Bitcoin and dissolve their trust regardless of the lawsuit. He said even if this were to be the case, someone else would just buy everything up, and then it would just get converted by someone else most likely. Over on the Dixie for the daily, we are starting to head down. We are rejecting this lower EMA. We did try to break above it, so we are not seeing that rounding bottom pattern. RSI is starting to inch its way out with lower highs, and it's starting to head down. As stochastic is losing strength, momentum is rolling over with a red dot as our VWAP is breaking into that bearish territory. The money flow is in the bullish territory, but it's overall inching out. If it continues to inch out and this VWAP continues to grow weaker, it is very likely we could come down and test this support level. If we make that support and our money flow touches the bearish territory with our VWAP making lower lows, it's very possible we could break that support and see a break to the downside from there. Over on our total, we did get a little bit of a rejection of our Fibonacci level here. Our stochastic is starting to round away. Our RSI wants to make a little bit of a bounce here, but with that stochastic starting to get a bearish cross and pulling away, we could see that RSI strength start to decline. That VWAP is just above that neutral. Trying to ride it out, we'll have to see if it can bounce up and maintain bullish momentum. If our VWAP can maintain bullish momentum here, the money flow may flip to the bullish side, at which point we could try to break these resistances and move forward. Our momentum does want to come up overall. We were rounding away, but with that VWAP going flat, our momentum starting to flatten away and wants to invalidate that rollover. So it's going to be real important if we can get some strong green candles following this. If we get weak green candles and chop sideways, we could just fall to the wayside. Over on Bitcoin, we are getting a little bit more dominance. Here's another example why Bitcoin dominance really doesn't necessarily affect price. We are well above this value area high of our volume profile still. We have a little bit of volume ahead of us that can kind of sustain us. We have this range around 56%. That would likely be our next area of resistance. This range right here between where we are at this 52 and 56, there's not really much resistance past this 52.5. So if we're able to break through that, we could see continual dominance increase. Stochastic starting to roll over, momentum starting to roll away, RSI is starting to weaken, our VWAP starting to head down, but our money flow is getting higher highs and maintaining bullish strength. If our money flow can maintain this bullish strength, we could see dominance continue to tick forward. Over on Bitcoin futures, we are in a bit of an up channel, so I'm going to get rid of this pattern we had and draw that real quick. So our up channel would look something like this. It would not be that exciting though. We have 1, 2, 3 touches here, so I'm going to estimate right around there. And we could pull back to right around this 26.3 level, which actually lines up with that gap. It would also fill this other gap we have, so we do have a rising channel. We do have 2 gaps under us, minus that 20K gap, and gaps do have an 80% chance to fill. Stochastic starting to roll over. We do have a bearish cross happening. RSI is starting to head down. Momentum's getting lower highs, making bearish divergence here. Our VWAP is starting to head down toward that neutral. If it breaks into the bearish territory, we're likely going to see further price action to the downside. That money flow is trying to make a bullish trend, but if that VWAP starts to give up the strength, that bullish trend could be short-lived, just like back here. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we did try to break through our golden pocket here. We got a little bit of our move, probably about a third, not too much. Stochastic starting to roll over, RSI is heading up, momentum's getting bearish divergence, it is starting to roll away. Our VWAP is starting to come down. It is riding above that neutral though, so even though the momentum's rolling over, it does still have a chance to maintain this bullish territory if that VWAP rolls back up. It's going to be important to see what these lower time frames do. If these lower time frames are weak, then the daily is going to weaken. It all leads into each other. That's why we cover these lower time frames. RSI is starting to head down with a red dot. Stochastic starting to roll over, momentum starting to roll over. We're getting lower highs on both stochastic and momentum, making bearish divergences on both. Our VWAP is starting to roll away, and our money flow is in the bullish territory. But if our VWAP starts to weaken here, gets a new low, we could have that bullish territory just sucked away from us, and it could just be a short-lived trend that wasn't very strong. Over on the 2 hour, you can see we are trying to break up still. We did come down a little bit. We are trying to make a somewhat bounce near our support level. If we're able to bounce, we did have some wicks here, so that would be a pretty decent level for support as well, because we have 1, 2, 3 wicks. If you have like 3 or more, that's a decent level. Stochastic's starting to roll away. RSI is starting to head down. Momentum's starting to roll away with a red dot as our VWAP's fallen into that bearish territory. That money flow is maintaining bullish strength though, so we do have the potential to continue up until this money flow starts to weaken. Over on the 1 hour, we have bearish divergence on stochastic. Momentum is starting to round away. RSI is overall starting to trend out, and our money flow is in the bullish territory with our VWAP zigzagging around. But again, as long as this money flow is able to maintain that bullish territory, we could see continued price action up and another attempt at breaking away from this golden pocket. Real quick, if you have not already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord, especially if you want one of these Reaper statues that's only able to be made for people in our Discord. We have one printing off right behind us if you were wondering what that was. Our stochastic is starting to head down here on graph on the daily. RSI is starting to head out. Money flow is breaking into that bearish territory. Our VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory as well. Our momentum has a red dot and is starting to pull away as we're seeing everything else start to fall. So overall, the daily's not looking too good. If these lower time frames, medium to lower time frames, show weakness, we could see the daily break even more. Our RSI is overall trending out here on the 4 hour. Stochastic's making lower highs, heading back down toward that oversold area. Our money flow is rejecting that neutral, maintaining that bearish strength, and our VWAP is zigzagging around this bearish territory, but it's not very strong. If that VWAP makes a higher low, breaks up, and makes a higher high, we could start a bullish trend, try to retrace some of these losses, which would be a likely scenario because usually you retest patterns or areas of support resistance. If you remember, this area acted as a pretty decent area of support resistance, so we could see a snap back up, try to touch this yellow EMA, get rejected, and get it pushed back down. Over on the 2 hour, we are making lower lows on price with lower highs, so we are forming a down channel overall, but it is not a straight descending channel, so it's not really a bullish pattern in my opinion. This would be one high, this would be a high, low, low, low. Possibly we could get a bounce, make a lower high, try to keep that trend going, but I would watch out if that does happen because we would see lower price action, possibly make a new low, get about halfway of our breakdown. That would be a decent area to push off the pattern. Remember, don't aim for 100% of your breakdown 100% of the time. This isn't financial advice, but one strategy is if you have 100 shares of something, let's say you get halfway down to the full potential move. You sell off your profits or your initial investment, then you let whatever profit ride out the rest of the trade so you can manipulate with that. That way, if it comes back to your break even, you could sell off at no loss. That's not financial advice, that's just one strategy of trading. Over on the 2 hour here, stochastic is pushing out, RSI is trending away, that VWAP's maintaining bearish momentum, and the money flow is pushing in the bearish territory as well. Our momentum is pushing lower. It does have a double green dot here that wants to push us forward as our VWAP is breaking into the bullish territory, but it's not really getting a new high right now. If our VWAP does not get a new high and just rejects over, we're likely going to continue this bearish trend and see it gain more strength. Over on the 1 hour, if that bearish trend does gain more strength, we may not get that retest that I said, so don't just jump in and hope for that retest. Stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is overall trending out. Our VWAP is not able to get new highs. It's starting to head back down. If it breaks to the bearish side, we're likely going to continue this bearish trend and keep edging out. Our money flow is in the bearish territory. Momentum is in the bearish territory. It does have a double green dot. It wants to pull forward, but if that VWAP crosses into that bearish territory, then little pull up is going to be short-lived. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are going to bounce off our support. Stochastic's starting to roll over. RSI is heading out. Momentum's rolling over with the red dot. Our money flow is pushing out. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, so we're not looking the strongest. If we get a red candle tomorrow, we would get a break out of this pattern most likely. If we confirm that breakdown, we're likely going to fill that gap I've been warning about for a few days now. Over on the 4 hour, we are trying to make a bounce near our bottom of our support. We have a little bit of a gap up here around that 1969 area that we could come up and fill, so keep that in mind. But our RSI is overall heading out. Money flows overall heading down. The money flow is maintaining in that bullish territory. The stochastic is trying to get bounced off that neutral where that oversold area is for it. If we are able to cross through that 30, we would gain bullish strength and we could see the RSI start to reverse. The momentum does want to push forward as our VWAP is in the bullish territory, but it's very weak with a lower high. If we come down and make a consistent or even lower low, we're likely going to start a bearish trend where we will break down. Over on the 2 hour, we have a slight gap above that we did fill. Mostly, we didn't fill all the way. Again, you don't need to fill 100% of your price point. That is still true for gaps. Stochastic is running up. RSI is trying to head up. If you sold in this wick, you were lucky. Keep that in mind. Most people sold during where the big body is. Few people got to sell during that wick. Money flow is trying to run up. VWAP is trying to head down. So we have a little indecision here. If our VWAP comes back down, comes back up, and makes a consistent high, we could see that money flow flip to the bullish side and gain some strength. However, if this VWAP dips to the bearish side, gets a consistent low, and pushes down, it's likely that money flow will do the same, as we will have a bit of a bearish trend starting with lower highs and consistent lows. Over on the 1 hour, we're gappy all the way around. Gaps here, gaps here, gaps here, so we could come up, fill this gap around that 1929 level. We do have a gap below us, though, that we may try and come up to fill that gap above us, so if we come up, fill that gap above us, it's very likely we'll come down, fill the gap below us, just like we have before. Our stochastic is overall rounding out. RSI wants to come up. That money flow is struggling to break through the bullish side, but if that VWAP and money flow break to the bullish side here, it's very possible we could break away from this pattern. Our momentum is starting to roll over with a red dot, but if that VWAP recovers, that red dot would be invalidated. Our stochastic does want to roll back up to the bullish territory. It would be in the overbought territory, but that could help propel our RSI forward. Over on XRP for the daily, we have a very strong break into this range, kind of like I've been mentioning for a few days. RSI is heading up, stochastic's running up, VWAP is pushing forward, money flows overall in a bearish trend though. We do have slightly higher lows, so this could be a manipulation pump. Our momentum does have a green dot, so I would watch these lower time frames very closely. We did get a very significant pump when the rest of the market was pretty flat. That could be indicative of some news coming out. We'll have to keep an eye out and watch what's happening. RSI is heading up, stochastic's running up, that VWAP is pushing up very strong. Our money flow wants to break to the bullish side, and that momentum wants to push forward, so if we're able to break or sustain this level, we could see continual price action up and try to retest this area like I said. However, we are at a very strong area of resistance, so if we start to pull away, we're likely going to test that 50-cent zone, and if we do not hold that 50-cent zone, that's where we will see the lower price targets most likely. Over on the 2 hour, stochastic's starting to round out. RSI is heading up, but starting to show signs of wavering, as our stochastic is showing signs that it wants to make a bearish cross. Our momentum is in the bullish territory with that VWAP running up strong, but that money flow just can't quite get very much strength. It is in the bullish territory, but if that VWAP comes crashing down, that money flow could do the same, and it could just pull us under very quickly. We do have a reversal arrow here, so I would tread carefully, as that could suggest that this run up is exhausted and our trend will reverse to the downside. Over here, we kind of edged away. Over here, we were flat, we pulled away. Over here, after run up, we did pull back down, ultimately overall pushing lower. Right here, when we got one, we did run up, but we did ultimately push back down. So I would just exercise caution. Sometimes I do push up, but it seems lately we've had more breakdowns, especially when you're pushing up. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic's pretty flat here. RSI is trying to head up, but it really doesn't have much more room to run. That momentum, about the same. It's about to roll over. Our VWAP is pushing out. If this VWAP breaks that neutral, we do have lower highs. We could see a bearish trend. Or if it rolls up, makes a lower high, and then pushes down, that would be a bit of a bearish trend starting as well. My money flow did break to the bullish side here on the 1 hour. If you look, when they both broke, well, the VWAP was bullish, but the money flow came through. When it did start showing some signs of strength, that is when we got this run up. That can continue, but the money flow is starting to roll away here. Still showing some signs of weakness. I would exercise caution because if that VWAP rolls over, pushes to the bear side, and the money flow does the same, we could get just as equal of a push down, if not more. Over on Algo for the daily, we are trying to push off this area where we have touched before. My mouse is trying to run away on me. Had to catch it. RSI is heading out, stochastic's pushing down. Money flow is breaking to the bear side. That VWAP does want to push up, but it's kind of flattening out here. So if that VWAP pulls under, that money flow is likely going to keep trending out, and we'll see continual price action to the downside and possibly fill this full breakdown. I'll pull this over here so it's a little easier to see, but that could take us to around 7.5 cents, or at least 8.2 cents. That is where our Fibonacci level is and where our candle wick from before was. Over on the 4 hour, we are trying to get a bit of a rounding bottom here, so we are trying to break this EMA. That could be very positive for us. Our stochastic and RSI want to make a strong bounce here, so if that can continue, we could see a decent push from here. That VWAP is kind of zigzagging around, and the money flow is trying to come up. So if that VWAP can gain some strength, and that money flow keeps pushing forward, we could start a bit of a bullish trend. I would watch this other EMA, that blue EMA. If we get stopped out by it, it is very likely we would pull back and start another push down. With as quick as we dropped out of this flag, we could come up, get a retest, and then see our pattern play. Our momentum does have a double green dot. It does want to push forward, but that VWAP's kind of iffy, so that could get invalidated just like every other time we had one before. Over on the 2 hour, we are getting a pretty decent move. We are kind of stopping just under that other EMA level, so if that continues on the lower time frames, it's likely going to happen on the higher time frames. Our stochastic does want to push forward. RSI is trying to push forward. That VWAP is making higher highs, so we have a little bit of a bullish trend trying to start. Our momentum is trying to get higher lows with the double green dot as that VWAP's in the bullish territory. So if that VWAP can sustain more bullish momentum than bearish momentum while it zigzags, this money flow could continue up and we could see a push forward. Over on the 1 hour, we are attempting a bullish cross of our EMAs. If we do see this cross confirm, we could get a pretty decent move to our other EMA, at which point that would be our resistance. If we're not able to get stopped out by these other 2 EMAs, it's very likely this pattern could be where we stop out. If we manage to blast through all these, then we could have similar situations as other coins where we would possibly come down and retest some of them. Our momentum wants to roll away, VWAP wants to roll away, that money flow is trying to push up overall, but if the VWAP starts to give up the strength here, that money flow is not likely going to start a bullish trend to propel us forward. I would watch the money flow very closely here on the next several candles. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.